Life often feels like a storm that refuses to calm. The weight of bills, heartbreak, betrayal, and unanswered prayers can crush even the strongest soul, making you wonder if God has turned away. But in those moments of silence and pain, there's a whisper that breaks through the chaos. Trust me, you will fix Italiano. That promise isn't empty. It's a reminder that your story isn't beyond repair, that the Creator who spoke worlds into being still holds your life in His hands. The same God who parted the sea, healed the blind, and raised the dead is not intimidated by what you're facing. Trusting Him doesn't mean pretending life is easy. It means believing He's working even when everything seems to be falling apart. It's choosing to hold on when every reason says to let go. Because faith isn't about seeing it, about knowing who holds the unseen. God knows the depth of your pain. Every tear you've cried, every silent prayer you've whispered in the dark, every ache that words can't express, He knows it all. Psalm 56:8 says He collects your tears in His bottle, recording each one in His book. That means not one tear is wasted, not one sorrow ignored. When the world overlooks your pain, He sees it. Jesus Himself walked through betrayal, loneliness, and unimaginable agony. He knows what it feels like to be misunderstood and abandoned. He isn't distant from your suffering. He's right there in the middle of it. Psalm 34:18 tells us that God is close to the brokenhearted. His nearness doesn't always feel loud, but it anchors you when the storm threatens to pull you under. Sometimes the miracle lies in that He takes the pain away, that He carries you through it, strengthening you when you have nothing left. There comes a point when your strength runs out. You've done all you can, prayed all you know how, and yet the mountain still stands tall before you. That's where God steps in. His power begins where your ability ends. When Paul begged for his thorn to be removed, God's answer wasn't deliverance, it was grace. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. That's not defeat. It's divine exchange. Moses couldn't part the Red Sea, but God could. Daniel couldn't stop the lions, but God did. The widow couldn't fill her jars, but God multiplied them. Your weakness isn't a fluke, it's an invitation for God to show His strength. When you reach the end of your rope, you haven't failed. You've arrived at the place where miracles are born. The world teaches that strength is everything, but God teaches that surrender is where His glory begins. You don't have to carry the weight of fixing everything. Let Him handle what only He can. Even when you can't see it, God is working. That's one of the hardest truths to accept. Our eyes demand proof, yet God often moves in silence. Think of Joseph, betrayed, imprisoned, forgotten. Every chapter of his story looked like loss, but behind the scenes, God was weaving redemption. The pit that seemed to destroy him became the path that led him to the palace. Esther's crown looked like coincidence, but it was divine strategy. She was positioned in silence for a moment of deliverance that would save her people. God's ways are not ours. Isaiah 55:8 reminds us, His thoughts are higher, His methods deeper. What feels like delay might be protection. What looks like a closed door might be a redirection. Faith is trusting that when you see nothing, God is still working everything together for good. You don't need to see the wind to know it's moving. In the same way, you don't need to see the hand of God to know He is guiding your life. Waiting tests the heart like nothing else. In a world that demands instant answers, God works in seasons. David was anointed as king but spent years running from Saul before he ever sat on the throne. Abraham waited decades for the child God promised. Even Jesus spent 30 quiet years in preparation before 3 years of public ministry that changed the world. Waiting isn't wasted when God is in it. Isaiah 42:31 says, Those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. They'll rise like eagles, run without growing weary. Waiting doesn't weaken faith. Italiano. God uses waiting to shape your character, build endurance, and prepare you for blessings you're not ready to carry yet. Sometimes He delays the promise to grow the person who will receive it. So don't see waiting as punishment. See it as preparation. The silence of now is setting up the sound of breakthrough that's coming. The power of God is unlocked through surrender. The more you try to control everything, the heavier life becomes. Control gives an illusion of strength, but it's actually the thing that keeps you from peace. Real strength begins the moment you say, God, I can't. But you can. Jesus prayed that in Gethsemane when the cross loomed ahead. His surrender, "Not my will, but yours be done," became the doorway to resurrection. Without surrender, there would be no salvation. Hannah learned this too. Her tears and pain were turned into blessing when she finally poured her heart before God and left it there. The moment you let go, heaven steps in. Surrender isn't weakness. It's the bridge between your exhaustion and God's intervention. When you stop trying to force outcomes, you make room for miracles. God's peace begins where your control ends. Lay it down, let Him take it. He knows exactly what to do with what's breaking you. God never wastes brokenness. The pieces you wish He'd remove are the very ones He uses to reveal His power. Job lost everything, yet his story became one of restoration and multiplied blessing. Peter denied Christ, yet his failure turned into bold faith that birthed the church. Paul persecuted believers, yet his past became the foundation of his ministry. God specializes in turning shame into strength and pain into purpose. Romans 8:28 declares that all things work together for good for those who love God. It doesn't say everything is good, it says everything works for good. Even your heartbreak, even your mistakes, even the moments that make no sense, your brokenness, surrendered to Him, becomes your testimony. And that testimony will become light for someone else. Still lost in darkness, the enemy thought it would destroy you, but God is turning it into the very thing that will set others free. Victory doesn't come from striving, it comes from trusting. The battle was never yours to begin with. David understood this when he faced Goliath with nothing but faith. Jehoshaphat knew it when he sent worshippers ahead of his army, and God fought the battle for them. The same God who conquered death still fights for you today. Whatever you're facing, fear, sickness, loss, or uncertainty, the outcome isn't up to you. It belongs to Him. When you trust that, peace replaces panic. Romans 8:37 says we are more than conquerors through Him who loves us. That means victory is already written into your story. The cross wasn't just a moment of pain. It was proof that every battle you face has already been won. You're not fighting for victory, you're standing in it. So as you hear these words, remember, the God who began your story will finish it beautifully. He knows your pain. He's working in your silence. He's strengthening you when you're waiting, and He's preparing your victory. You don't have to see how, you just have to trust that He will fix it.